Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today is Throat Punch Thursday.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Who's ready?
It's Throw Punch Thursday, bitch.
Gotta love that. Gotta love that. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the slapstick comedy of it. There's something about physical violence that, that's amusing, especially when it's done in jest. No, yes, maybe. Well, when it's done in jest, just random violence against innocent people, not so much. But I think Mike would argue he was asking for it. Anyway, folks, I'm here. You're here. We're going to have a good time today. Unfortunately, Mike is not going to be able to make the program today, but we're going to be taking your comments. That's right. If you are watching the show live, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, you're watching us live, which means we're taking your comments. Go ahead and comment. Let us know what you think about the program. Let us know what you think about the particular topic. Maybe just give us a shout out as to where you're watching the show. And if we find it to be interesting, we'll go ahead and we'll share it with everyone else that's a part of the audience. And if I don't, then I won't. But do know this. Do know that, if you do decide to participate and we disagree, do know that we reserve the right to mock you. As Mike would say, we will mock you. Anyway, that now gives us an opportunity to kick off the show. And how do we always kick off the show? You guessed it, with a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries. They sell rifle and pistol caliber barrels. They are available in any length for you to purchase at hitmanindustries.net. Check them out today. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives at all levels of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Ronald Reagan once referred to them as the conscience of the Republican Party. Check them out today at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. And are you looking for a holster? Well, let me tell you this. You can find the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market at hogholsters.com. That's right, hogholsters.com. Just go there. Make sure you use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, one word, just like it is right up there. And you're going to get a discount on us. That's hogholsters.com, helping Americans wear guns. And then finally, if you're looking for outdoor gear, if you're looking for tactical gear, if you're looking for hot weather gear, and the fall's coming up, which guess what? Means wet weather gear is going to be coming up, necessary. Check out uscombatgear.com. They have a huge selection. They're geared specifically towards groups, whether you got a unit, a department, a group, a club, or whatever. They have a huge selection. They have excellent pricing and the best customer service available on the market. Check them out today, uscombatgear.com, where you can get everything tactical except the gun. All right, that's going to bring us now to our first story. It's kind of funny because I've always said this. I've always had a recognition that there's one party that unilaterally, for the most part, has stood with Israel, at least during my lifetime, and another party that, while they have had their traditional supporters of Israel, generally it tends to be a party that has been pretty darn split when it comes to whether or not you should support Israel, and whether or not, they actually contain anti-Semitic folks. Now, let's be honest. No matter what circle you go to, you're going to find anti-Semitic folks, right? I'm not saying that every group is perfect. I'm not telling you the Republican Party's perfect. I'm not telling you the Democratic Party's perfect. But when it comes down to fighting anti-Semitism, I mean, anti-Semitism is this. It's a form of bigotry. Let's be real. It's the racism, anti-Semitism, anti-Christian behavior, all of these things are all, basically it is a form of hate. And there are individuals out there who are engaging in acts based on that hate. And the challenge, though, is that there only really seems to be one party that's going out of their way to address violence. And violence in all cases needs to be addressed, but specifically violence when it comes to anti-Semitic hate. Democrats seem to be okay with it. When I say Democrats, I mean Joe Biden and the Biden administration. Most Democrats in Congress, they seem to be okay with it because, especially as it has reared its head more recently, the Democrats have done absolutely nothing to deal with it, including the recent rash of violence against those of the Jewish faith, or based on the Jewish faith. So it appears that the Trump administration has turned that all around, and this is a report from Fox News that kind of talks a little about that.
Well, the FBI is now investigating what officials describe as a horrific anti-Semitic attack in Missouri. Police are saying there's an American who served with the IDF targeted in St. Louis after someone set several cars on fire and spray painted anti-Israel graffiti in the driveway. Mike Tobin's following the story for us live in Chicago. Mike, what's the latest on this?
Well, imagine waking up in the middle of the night to find 3 cars burning in front of your house, then learn this was a deliberate, directed attack generated by hate. And that's what happened in Clayton, Missouri, a suburb of St. Louis, 2 nights ago. This arson attack was directed at an American citizen who also serves in the Israeli Defense Forces. He had just returned from combat and woke up to this. Coupled with the arson was graffiti. One message was personal and directed at the individual. The other message, death to the IDF, was spray painted in the middle of the street.
Although no one was hurt, the emotional toll is undeniable.
Yeah.
You have people who are in fear now, and and this was a message of intimidation.
The bomb and arson unit was brought in, and with the support of the president and Attorney General Pam Bondi, the FBI is now supporting this investigation, classifying the incident as a hate crime. Assistant Attorney General Leo Terrell says anti-Semitism has become prolific on college campuses and elsewhere. He says this administration will not let it slide.
For some crazy reason, anti-Semitism is popular. And unlike any time in my lifetime, it's rampant. Why? Because it's been validated. You have people looking the other way. This hatred is well financed. And with the power of the Department of Justice, we are going to combat that.
Terrell says in 2024, the FBI recorded 12,000 hate crimes. 25% of those were religiously motivated. Most of those targeted Jews. Jackie?
Mike Tobin for us. Thank you.
So this is a piece, once again, that's written over there at foxnews.com. It says Trump GOP fight anti-Semitic violence amid latest FBI probe, in sharp contrast to the Biden's silence. Let's read a little bit of the piece here. It says President Trump has taken a much harsher approach to address the rise of anti-Semitic violence in the U.S. in comparison to his predecessor. From launching task forces to penalizing academic institutions who have become embroiled in anti-Israel protests. For example, Trump's Justice Department cracked down on Palestinian militant group Hamas, establishing a new task force in March aimed at providing justice to the victims of Hamas October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel. Attorney General Pam Bondi said the group, known as the Joint Task Force October 7, would focus on identifying, charging, and prosecuting those who conducted the 2023 attacks, which took the lives of roughly 1,200 people, including 47 U.S. citizens. Hamas also took more than 250 people hostage that day, including 8 U.S. citizens. Quote, the president and his administration have been crystal clear. Anti-Semitism has no place in America, and those who harbor or advance this insidious behavior will be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law, White House spokesperson Harrison Fields said in a statement to Fox News Digital. Meanwhile, the Biden administration recently came under fire in a House Judiciary Committee memo in July that claims his administration directed taxpayer funding to protests in Israel against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Quote, the committee's oversight has revealed that the Biden-Harris administration provided grant funds to groups that contributed directly directly and indirectly to the judicial reform protests that sought to undermine the Israeli government, and the committee wrote in a memo. So it goes even a little bit further. So in other words, we're not just talking about them not addressing the violence, but we're talking about them, the Democrats, in particular the Biden administration, actually supporting it, actually putting resources behind it, knowingly or not. The organizations that they were supporting were involved in protests and anti-Israeli protests and protests against the Israeli government. The protests where you had people out chanting from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And what does that mean? That means that all of the area currently known as Israel will be free of the Jews. That's what their goal is. Their goal is to end the Jewish state, and if need be, by killing all Jews. That's their goal. And if you ask them directly, if you ask Hamas directly, they will tell you that is exactly their goal. They don't mince words about it. You can read it in the documents that they put out. It's what they believe. And the Biden administration, well, let's just say that they are supporters of it. I don't know what to tell you about that. They are. And I think it's something that if we were talking about a group that supported groups like the Klan, if we were talking about groups that supported the genocide of African Americans or the killing of all not Christians, all Muslims, there you go, they would be livid. They would be losing their minds. How do I know that? Because as little as you hear about anti-Muslim rhetoric, right? When I say anti-Muslim rhetoric, I mean people just saying, hey, you know what? A lot of these Muslim states really do just want to kill the Jews. They consider that to be Muslim hate. But every single time you talked about October 7th, they had to bring up, increase or the rise in anti-Muslim hate. I'm like, what? Anyway, but that was their perspective. Their attitude was, well, you know what? Well, we got to protect the Arabs. The Muslims. We got to protect the Muslims. And don't get me wrong. No group, I don't care what your religion is, you should not be persecuted because of your religion. That's the great thing about America. Because in America, in the United States of America, it's one of the few places where people of various different faiths can live in peace, right? Guess where else you can do that? Israel. As much as they want to tell you that Israel is trying to push a genocide and kill all Muslims, 20% of their population who live in Israel, we're not talking the Gaza, we're not talking about the West Bank, who serve in the military, who are doctors, lawyers, who teach in the schools, who go to the schools, who are taxpayers, who serve in the parliament, 20% of them are Muslim. They just choose not to be terrorists. Kind of funny how that works, huh? Kind of funny how that works. We got a couple of comments here from the folks over at American Crossfire. First, we have Hey, folks from American Crossfire, would love to know where you're watching the program from. So do us a favor, just let us know. You don't have to just give us the state, maybe the city and the state. You don't have to give us your full address, but we'd love to know where you're watching it. And the folks over at American Crossfire also confirm that is what from the river to the sea means. It's what it has always meant. There's no mincing words. There's no confusion there. They know what it means. So when someone is not willing to denounce that, or someone supports the idea of them saying it, they are either, number one, incredibly ignorant, which, ignorance, we're all ignorant of something. So the way you cure ignorance is with knowledge. You provide that information to them, and then they can decide whether or not they're still going to support the idea of saying it. If they're still going to support the idea of saying it, well, then we know exactly where they're coming from. We know exactly what their position is, and it ain't coming from a good place. And when you are willing to not come against the violence that is tied to that, like the Biden administration, then what are we to think of your position when it comes to anti-Semitism, or when it comes to Jews? Tell us exactly what you think. Let's see. North American Crossfire is report they're in North Athens, Georgia. Go Dogs. All right. Well, that's good to see. Thank you so much for joining the program. Encourage you to encourage your friends to also tune in to the program. We have some good discussions here. It's better when Mike is here, I will have to admit, because Mike is a professional smartass. He really is. He's good at it, and he can do it off the. It just rolls off the tongue. I don't know why. It just, all of us have gifts. That's his. Anyway, but keep an eye on stuff like this, because here's the deal, folks. It's not just unique to Jews or Israel. A lot of people talk about, and a lot of black people think that Donald Trump doesn't like black people. Well, kind of funny, because if you look at a lot of pictures, there's a lot of times before he decided to run for president where we're talking There are a bunch of well-known black politicians, athletes, the whole kit and caboodle, who are out there who support, who have imageries and pictures and things like that with Donald Trump, right? There's a whole bunch of them out there. And they like Donald Trump because Donald Trump did a lot to benefit and work with a lot of the organizations that are out there. So don't let the smooth taste fool you. They used to like him until he came out as a Republican. Now, then when you take a look at what he actually did, well, he sponsored opportunity zones, which actually increased investment in urban communities. I know because we got a couple of projects and communities right here in Sacramento where I live that I know benefited from opportunity zones. You have historically black colleges and universities used to have to come every year to ask for money from the administration. Well, guess what? He got them 10 years worth of funding. He included legislation and got them 10 years. Now, I will give Biden credit. Biden, he did up that and he upped it significantly, but that was because he was forced to because no president before him did it. Obama didn't do it. Clinton didn't do it. George Bush didn't do it. Donald Trump did it. He's the one who got them that extended funding. And, Biden came in and was like, okay, I will not be, what's the word I'm looking for? He's like, I will not be outdone on that because, he was trying to get credit for being the third black president, I guess. I don't know. Bill Clinton is commonly known as the first black president, which made Obama second. Okay, not really, but it is kind of funny to say. Oh, here we go. American Crossfire once again says, I saw him at GA2A retirement lunch. I didn't know him because before I had never watched live. I just knew the voice from somewhere. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's talking about Mikey P. Matter of fact, when you see him, just call him Mikey P. That's what I call him. I'm telling you, it took a while for me to be able to properly pronounce Piwowarski. Now try and spell it. Anyway, but keep an eye on Donald Trump. Donald Trump is doing, not talking. I learned a long time ago. I don't listen to what Donald Trump says, or at least I don't focus on what he says. I focus on what he does. And he not only does he do, but he surrounds himself with people who do, and who do good things that benefit America and benefit all Americans. So hats off to Donald Trump. I really appreciate the work that you are doing. All right, free speech wins big. That's right, free speech wins big. Newsom, Gavin Mussolini, as I like to call him, well, he lost. And this has to do with a law that was passed in California that dealt with political advertising. Let's see if I can find it here. Here we go. Bam. Here we go. Okay. Says here, free speech win. Judge sides with Elon Musk and X, strikes down California law restricting election parody videos. In a win for free speech, a federal judge on Tuesday struck down California's law on AI-generated election parody videos. The lawsuit was filed from Elon Musk, his X platform, the Babylon Bee, and video platform Rumble. Politico reports that the ruling marks a significant victory for tech billionaire Elon Musk and his social media platform X, which had challenged the California law alongside other plaintiffs, including satirical website The Babylon Bee, hey, we know them, and conservative social media site Rumble. Hey, we're on Rumble. What do you know? The decision, oh, by the way, we also are broadcasting on X, in case you were wondering. The decision by U.S. District Judge John Mendez deals a setback to California Governor Gavin Newsom, who signed the legislation last year, vowing to take action after Musk, a then supporter of former President Donald Trump, shared a humorous video of former Vice President Kamala Harris ahead of the election. You know what? If I had time before the show, I would have actually pulled up that video so that you could see it, because it was hilarious. Yeah, it was definitely quite funny. But here's the thing, folks. Are these meme videos, are these parody videos, are they going to impact elections? Yes. Right? Are they impacting elections by providing false information? Well, I think it depends on the information that is in the parody ad. Because ultimately, what it comes down to is, if you're going to put out something that is false, then you need to be held to account. I'll give you that. But if you're putting out something that is parody, right? Parody is different. Parody is not lying. Parody is simply saying, I'm going to make fun of you. I'm going to take something, a position that you have. I am going to mock it. And you know how we feel about mocking here. We're all for mocking. We're going to mock it and do it. We try to do it in a humorous way, because a lot of times humor is a way to cut through tension that can happen with disagreement or sometimes in dealing with tough subjects. So to have something that is funny, because most people don't, by the way, don't like watching campaign commercials. I hate watching campaign commercials, unless, guess what? They're funny. So why not allow us to have funny ones? And once again, this is his whole goal is to any speech that opposes the government, right? That in particular that opposes the government, because most of the people who are worried about stuff like this happen to be incumbents, because they don't like being made fun of. But they're the ones with the public records. They're the ones that have made decisions. They're the ones that have put themselves in positions to be criticized. And if you're going to be criticized, might as well make it funny. That's just my perspective. Let's see here. It says here, I don't know if it's happening anymore, happening to anyone else, but every few words of your sound are cutting in and out. Well, I do apologize. Sometimes we lose sometimes we have some issues with the sound during the live broadcast. Just so you know, you can also watch this program. We do a rebroadcast at a number of different channels across. If you go to my personal my public figure Facebook page, you can also go to the California Republican Assembly. You can go to the Arms Room Radio. All of us on our Facebook pages as well as YouTube channels, we do a rebroadcast of the program. It's generally cleaned up when we do that, and that happens like the 4 and 7 o'clock hour. So we realize sometimes we have some technical difficulties, but so sorry. It's also sometimes what happens when I'm both in front of and behind the camera. So sometimes we can't always catch all the sound issues. But I very much appreciate you pointing that out. We are all good with constructive criticism. Speaking of constructive criticism, I wouldn't even say this is constructive criticism. I would say that this is interesting. So you know that some of the courts have basically come out. There's a big deal right now at the federal level where they're really kind of talking about unserialized firearms or home-built firearms. They call them ghost guns. And I call them unserialized because places like California, if you have a firearm where the serial number has been removed or been covered up to where it's unrecognizable, they count that they've been counting those as ghost guns. Anyway, they've seen a proliferation or an increase in the number of ghost guns or home printed guns or home created guns. They change it up, right? They've seen the number. They've seen the number go up. It's still nowhere close to any other firearms. The overwhelming majority of firearms that are used in crimes are still stolen firearms. They are not, or the result of straw purchases. They are not ghost guns. But, if you say, well, I found one unserialized firearm last year and I found 2 this year, well, that's a 100% increase. That's the sort of crap that they're doing with the statistics. Well, Minnesota, there was a court ruling. Some courts are ruling against home-built firearms, but one court, and this court is actually in Minnesota, which is interesting, and not just one in Minnesota, but the Minnesota Supreme Court has ruled in favor of unserialized guns. Let us read the story being reported over there out of Breitbart. The Minnesota Supreme Court ruled Wednesday it is legal for the state's residents to possess unserialized guns because such guns are legal at the federal level. What do you know? The case State v. Vagel. Newsmax reported the case stemmed from a rollover car accident in February 2022 in Friendly. Wow, that's an interesting name. Friendly, Minnesota. A state trooper who arrived at the scene saw a gun magazine inside the car and the driver, Logan Vagel, said he had a pistol in the vehicle and did not have a permit to carry, according to court documents. Vagel was charged the next day with possession of a firearm without a serial number and carrying a pistol without a permit. The Anoka County District Court dismissed the charge related to the serial number, only to have the State Court of Appeals reverse the district court decision. The State Court of Appeals claimed possession of an unserialized gun was prohibited by law, but Minnesota Supreme Court saw it otherwise, ruling in Vagel's favor by 4-2 vote. Just one justice recused himself from the case. Justice Paul Thiessen wrote the majority opinion, noting, because federal law does not require a serial number on the firearm that Vagel possessed, we reverse. I think that kind of makes sense. There's a reason why they don't, why they allow it to happen, because, well, the whole purpose of having a serial number is so that they want you to register it. And the purpose of registration is for eventual confiscation. There is almost no crime that if you go out and you look and you go out and you ask law enforcement, hey, how many incidents, crimes have you solved by tracing a gun through its registration? And they'll almost tell you it never happens. They just don't do it. Now, the way they really do it is through ballistics, right? That's how they figure it out. That's how they find and eventually trace down a firearm. Anyway, it's interesting that this came out of Minnesota, Minnesota is reported supposedly as liberal as California, or at least very, very close. So it's very interesting that their Supreme Court, this is not a district court, this is not a single judge, this is not even an appellate court, but the the Supreme Court decided on this decision. And I got to say, thumbs up to the folks there in Minnesota. I really do believe the more and more you're starting to see this, the more and more you're starting to see the effect of brewing, the more we're going to start to see some of these crazy laws overturned. Anyway, that now brings us to our next story, and this one is really out of the WNBA. This is a coach in the WNBA. Oh, by the way, before I get into it, there is a phenomenon that has been occurring. I don't know what the point behind it is, but Lynx coach Cheryl Reeve calls for action over sex toys being thrown onto the court at WNBA games. Lynx coach Cheryl Reeve pulled reporters aside on Thursday's practice to send a stern PSA about the green dildo saga engulfing the WNBA. And here was her message.
Onto the court. Obviously, you guys know what the object is. And I just want to comment on, this has been going on for centuries. The sexualization of women. This is the latest version of that. And it's not funny. And it should not be the butt of jokes on any radio shows or in print or in any comments. The sexualization of women is what's used to hold women down. And this is no different. This is just its latest form. And we should write about it in that way. And these people that are doing this should be held accountable. And we're not the butt of the joke. They're the problem. And we need to take action. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Coach.
Okay. I don't even know where to begin. Lady, you ought to be happy that anyone's talking about the WNBA. And the truth be told, had you not pulled people aside and said, hey, don't do this, I wouldn't have even known that it was going on. And none of my viewers would have known that this is going on. And by the way, I find it hilarious. First of all, lady, do you believe that lesbians or women are the only ones that use dildos? That gay men use them, I'm sure. I wouldn't know personally, but I just think that, look, lady, if you can't take a joke, if you want to say, look, hey, how about we stop this? It's childish. I get that. But then you talk about it being the sexualization of women. And let us be clear. No one is interested in having sex with most of your players. At least not most men, especially since most of your players are not interested in having sex with men. In fact, I would venture to say that a lot of the people who are attending your games are not men. They're probably lesbian women. If they are men, then they definitely aren't interested because they probably aren't heterosexual men who are attending your games, um, especially your games. Now, if we're talking the Indiana Fever, their numbers are up because they got a badass basketball player over there named Caitlin Clark, who people actually want to see. It's kind of funny that you are here and you are talking about that, but you're not talking about the onslaught of violence that Caitlin Clark has had to endure since entering the NBA. I mean, overwhelmingly, been a dramatic increase. I mean, when you look at the amount of technical fouls, when I say technical, I mean flagrant fouls that have taken place, a huge disproportionate number of them have taken place against Caitlin Clark. But you don't see any problem with that. You didn't pull any reporters aside to talk about that. You want to talk about people throwing dildos on the court. And here's the thing. I'm just gonna tell you this, and this is, unless this is what you wanted, all you did was inspire people to do it more. Am I safe? Come on, you guys, tell me, am I safe? Go ahead and comment. Let me know. Do you think that her doing this, it now making the New York Post and other newspapers, do you think that that is going to encourage more people to do it? I think it will. Um, I'll just say it again. Be happy that people are being entertained at your games, because I find it hard to believe that there's anything entertaining at a WNBA game. I'm sorry. Till y'all start playing above the rim like the guys. Because that, by the way, that's what makes basketball exciting to watch, is when they're playing above the rim, and y'all ain't doing it. So anyway, all right, moving right along. We're now at the part where, well, we're at our parting shots. And parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your hog holster today. All right, we're going to start with this first one here. It's related to the story that we just talked about. Oh, by the way, this comes to you from our friends over at the Babylon Bee. Fake news that you can trust. WNBA warns, if you throw anything on the court, you'll be forced to attend 10 more WNBA games. Now that threat might actually get people to stop. Not saying, just saying. We talked a couple of days ago, or was it yesterday? We talked about the redistricting battle that's taking place, or the gerrymandering district. Well, Donald Trump decided he is going to get into the mix. Also from the folks over at the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust. It says here, Trump gerrymanders U.S. to include Canada. All right, I don't know if I really like that idea, unless you're going to divide Canada into two states, one being liberal, one being conservative. But yeah, I prefer to think of Canada as America's hat. You might have also heard about the controversy relating to the census, in particular relating to the fact that many people who are non-Americans, or in particular not here legally, were counted in the census, and thus gave blue states, blue cities, a lot more population, thus more representation than they actually deserve. Well, Donald Trump is now talking with U.S. Census takers, according to the folks over at the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust. And they're reporting Donald Trump orders census takers not to count anyone wearing a sombrero. Yes, that is a twinge of racism there, but it was funny. So, I guess you don't have to necessarily be Mexican to wear a sombrero. I mean, there are plenty of folks who are not legal citizens, who would never wear a sombrero. Anyway, moving right along, Donald Trump was up on the roof of the White House the other day and checking things out. And needless to say, historians decided, they had to tune in and say, historians warn, Hitler also once stood on a roof. Because, every time Donald Trump does something, well, obviously he did it because he's Hitler. They like pushing misrepresentations like that, and they like trying to tie correlations like that because, they're that good. Kind of like this study. It says study finds possible connection between the current heat wave and giant flaming orb in the sky. Gee, I wonder what orb they are talking about. Yeah, it's called the sun, folks. It's called the sun. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's program. But before we go, we're going to give you one more quick shout out to our sponsors. You got Hitman Industries. You can buy rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you at any length at hitmanindustries.net. You got the California Republican Assembly, the conscience of the Republican Party. It's cragop.org. That's cragop.org. And then you've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market at hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com, helping Americans wear guns. And then you've got the place where you can go to get whatever it is that you need, uscombatgear.com, where you can find all things tactical except the gun. And that's going to be it for today's program, folks. We will be back. Hopefully when I say the we, I mean not just the majority of me and you, but me, you, Mike, all of us, the whole gang. Hopefully we'll be back tomorrow to have a good time and close out the week. Till then, y'all have fun, stay safe, and at least I will definitely see you mañana.